Hello and welcome to the United States of America, specifically the track Watkins Glen. And I've been away from Assetto Corsa for a while, forced because of travel, for about a month and a half. Then when I came back, I had an ingrown toenail. I'll spare you the details, but in any case, it's healed enough now that I can do left foot braking again. So I find myself once more in the GT3s. Now I joined. I've been practicing this track, Watkins Glen, up until I got to 105% of the top times. So for this track, that's a 147.5. And now I'm off to do hopefully a good qualifying lap. We'll see how it goes. Now, since I haven't done a video on this track before, I'll give you a bit of a walkthrough through the track. So this is the last corner that I'm going way too deep in. Off to my qualifying effort for this first race I did of the day on Watkins Glen with LFM. And I started out with a 147.8, but hoping to improve. So we just went through turn 1, pretty hard braking zone, but you don't go all the way down in gears. And then turns 2, 3, where we are now, and 4 are flat out. So basically like a straight, non-straight straight here. Then this is the actual straight, the back straight, which leads to what is called the inner loop, which is kind of a double chicane that was put into place to slow the cars down before they get to what is called the outer loop, which is this large, big radius banked curve that basically brings you back 180 degrees. Then you go into this newer section of the track, which is called the boot, because if you look at it sideways, it kind of looks like a foot, I suppose. The corner we went through is called shoot, going downhill, and then back uphill is a corner called toe. Quite apt, given my ingrown toenail issues recently. Up the hill we go, and we approach the next corner, which is then the heel of the boot. So the corner is also named heel. And then for the next three, I don't know if they have names, but this I will address as turn 9. And then there is still turn 10 and 11. A lot of very fast corners, which makes, even though that there's a lot of room on the track, it's still not that easy to overtake. Because usually when you have a very fast corner, you have a very specific line to follow, and if you deviate too much from the line, it gets difficult to keep up your speed as much, so hard to do overtakes unless you can force your opponent into a mistake. Now the session ended and I did a 147.6. This put me at P11. This is with the website LFM, so they have their own rating system, and the website had rated me for this race and this split in the 11th position, so they kind of expect me to be 11th all at the end of it. So yeah, I'm hoping to at least match that. And now we're off and heading straight down to turn 1, of course. Making a bit of moves with the cars being bogged down on the inside, but then someone bumps me in the back, I take a bit of damage. And yeah, not the start I was hoping for. So we can see here there's just a little bit of contact from the black McLaren behind, which I believe is Johnson. No, not too much done. So I continue on my way through turns 2, 3 and 4. And we're kind of in a 3-wide situation for a moment as we head towards the inner loop, but not quite. Now, Kong, the white Ferrari, is a little bit ahead, so but they have the tighter line, so they have to brake earlier. I am alongside into the inner loop, very much deserving of space. I leave them space on the curb on the first curb, but then they just hit me on the second curb, spin me out. And then for good measure, someone else still runs into me, and now I have quite a bit of damage and my steering is misaligned. Bit of a bummer, definitely not the race I was hoping for. Let's have a short review. So we can see here, I'm alongside Kong. I overtake the red Ferrari. I'm on the outside, if you look at the previous corner, Kong on the inside. And then as we head towards the chicane, the red Ferrari backs out. Kong has to brake a bit early, being on the tighter line. I leave him plenty of space, and then I get hits from the Kong on the second curb, get spun out. I have to wait, I do so diligently, but then another white, I think Ferrari, comes along and just crashes into me, spins out themselves. Now I have quite a bit of damage, steering column is thus misaligned, and I'm all the way at the back of the field, last one on track, as you can see from the minimap. So down chute we go. hoping to catch back up, but it looks like it will have to be quite a recovery drive. Now skipping forward, and it turns out to be an alright recovery drive. We're in the last lap of the race. I am by now P13, but I just skipped ahead this far because really nothing of note actually happened. It was all overtakes with cars that had spun off without me putting any pressure, or they pulled into the pits and I just overtook by staying on track. So very much not interesting. And yeah. At this point I was still hoping to catch up to Bender, but then coming out of the last corner I hit the barrier on the outside, and my steering column went even further awry, so at that point I basically threw in the towel and figured, okay, P13 will do. Now by the time I go across the finish line, so several people already left the lobby, so it will show as P9 this time, but it was in effect P13. And yeah, sucky race to start the streak, but it is what it is. I still came back to P13, so I was at least somewhat happy about that. But in celebration of my toe being back up to par, I was doing 3 back-to-back races at Watkins Glen. So on I went to the second one. Once more, I was seeded number 11 in the field, so the game once again expected me to be, or the website expected me to come in as 11th position in the split. But I did quite well in qualifying. I put down a 146.8, which was a new personal best. So I was very happy about that, and it netted me P7 for the time being at least. Presumably still gonna tumble down the order with more cars completing laps, but not a bad start. And I went off to hopefully improve even more. So as we come to inner loop, I'll be looking to very aggressively cut the first curb, and I do so successfully. Then take quite a lot of the second, and then the third and fourth you still cut, but not quite as much. Then really keep your footing quite long as you're heading into this the outer loop, the banked corner. It's a very, very fast corner, and then try to brake as late as possible into shoot here. Run a little bit wide mid-corner, but then cut back to the apex for basically double apex and try to optimize exit speed. Now I had a car in front, Saprikin. I was very much hoping they would not hold me up. Throughout qualifying they seemed a little bit slower than I, but I was a second behind coming into the third sector, so I wasn't too worried about it at this point and still looking to improve. Unfortunately, I was 2 tenths up on my delta, so it didn't look like I would get any improvement, or definitely not a big one. But still, the qualifying was about to end. It did just now, the timer ran out. So this is my last lap anyway, I might as well try as hard as I can. I knew I had quite a bit of time to gain also through the penultimate corner 10, and then the last one here, turn 11. I do actually drive the timer back down and just go slightly below my delta, and I end up improving by 2/1000ths of a second. This doesn't improve my position, and when all is said and done, I am actually qualified P11, so exactly where I was seated for this race and split. So there was some opportunity perhaps to move up in the field, as I felt that I was getting to know the track better and better, so maybe I could start making an impression more so on the people around me. And that was my plan. Now as we head down to turn 1, I found myself on the dirty side of the track, so I'm hoping to go left. There's a bit of contact in the back, and then I get crashed into on the left side. I in turn crash into someone else on my right side, and that kind of works out alright for me. I think I was catapulted forward a little bit actually, and I didn't end up taking too much damage, so for an accident it was quite lucky. Now it's a drag race towards inner loop, but before we get there, let's review. So we have the orange BMW Slom K4, then white Ferrari Kong, which you might know from previous race, then me, and then there's Manqué in the baby blue Ferrari. Now I was hoping to make it to the left side, and I got the all clear from my spotter, so I moved further left. But unfortunately there was still a tiny bit of overlap with Slom K4, who then got bumped into Kong, the white Ferrari, and Kong was out of control, couldn't help it at all, was a passenger at that point, bumps into me and pushes me into Manqué. Kong is definitely the biggest victim here. They were spun out and had to rejoin all the way at the back of the track. Here we have the view of Manquet, who gets spun but immediately corrects it and turns it back around, so does lose a whole bunch of positions, but is back on their way before Kong gets the chance to do so. Now in the meantime, I'm heading down the back straight towards the inner loop. It's not looking too bad for me. I think I've climbed up to P11 through all of this, but then I get bumped from behind, quite similar to the previous race, so in the inner loop a crash out. But I took even less risk than last time, or I took a lot of less risk than last time, and I still end up paying the price for, I believe it was Johnson, no, Nick bumps me from behind the black McLaren, and yeah, spins me out. There I am, scenic shot behind the crane. There's another car joining me there in the barrier, and I'm back on my way. But let's look at the footage from Nick, specifically the brake trail. You can see that they never actually go fully on the brake, and as they are about to run into me, they even lift off a bit more from the brake. So yeah, that's not cool at all. I think they could have avoided there, even despite braking maybe slightly late and being too close to me to be able to react. But that's on them to manage anyway, so fully the fault of Nick there. But yeah, nothing for me to do now but to try once more to have a recovery race, and it starts out well. There's the orange BMW spun around, and then a whole lot of chaos in tow corner, which I managed to capitalize on nicely. And when all is said and done, I am ahead of Kong once more. Now, if we look at the replay, we can see that Slom K4 from the race start, just a bit eager on the throttle as they dip their tires in the grass. They spin out and just have to wait until the whole pack comes by, because there's no way to turn it around safely. They're about to give it a go, but then I'm on my way and they do wait, luckily for me. Now a whole slew of other cars, Manquet notably here, got surprised by this and had to take evading action, and then they end up, Manquet goes bowling, spins out 3 more cars. And then finally there's Kong, who hits Boulash from behind. I think Boulash was being maybe overly cautious, which kind of leads to a sort of brake check on Kong. Kong runs into them, and eventually Kong sees me passing by, so helicopter view with me weaving my way through, and we see the cars on the grass just pirouetting as they try desperately to rejoin before the other does. But for me, it all worked out quite nicely. I think I overtook about 7 or 8 cars in all of it, so I'm back up to P14, and that's quite nice for me, coming from P20 or 21, I believe it was. So I'm already back up to almost the position I finished in last race after I got spun out in the same spot in inner loop. Now Kong is putting a lot of pressure, he's very close behind. I remember in the race, I believe Kong was seated number 12 and me 11, but since I was so unfamiliar with the track and seating doesn't take track knowledge into account, I figured they'd be a bit faster than me. So I'm expecting to remain under pressure here and for them to probably make a move eventually, but I'll do what I can. Now I see Kong is lining up a move on the inside, but they're a bit too far back, so I just shut the door, and yeah, that's it for them. They can't pass me. Down towards the back straight, this flat out section also, I just opened up the gap a little bit, so I had a better exit since they had to back out and were going for a tighter line anyway. So I opened up the gap to about 0.7 of a second. Now we're coming up to the inner loop where Kong spun me out the previous race, but this time there's no drama. And though heading towards the outer loop, then Kong has closed the gap again and is now within 1/10 of a second, really getting a sniff there. Luckily for me, in shoot, it's basically impossible, I think, to overtake, barring any massive mistake from the car in front. So I keep it tidy enough, and Kong remains behind. And then in tow, up the hill, again, nothing doing for Kong, so position maintained for a full lap, and I'm happy for it, of course. But for now the pressure is still fully on, so this last sector especially I don't feel quite confident with. This turn 9 where we're at now, it's really easy to get on the throttle too soon, so sometimes I get it right, but most often I go on the throttle a bit too soon, have to then linger, or sometimes a bit too late. And in any case, in this whole sector. Now in the last corner also I just go too deep and Kong pulls alongside. Now pulling alongside meant that they were on a tighter line, so they fall slightly behind again on the straight, especially since they're not drafting. But they maintain the inside line. I see them coming, it's too late to shut the door. So they go for the overtake, small dive there, and end up running into them. I was a bit surprised by the slow exit speed of Kong out of turn 1. And there's a slight bit of contact pushing me wide. Also my spotter tells me there's a bit of damage, but nothing too bad, where life goes on for both of us. So here turn 1 move done, but then Kong is surprisingly slow and still runs out a little wide, I think. Wider than I expected, so a slight bit of contact, but yeah, as said, nothing too bad. There's a bit of a gap immediately, but let's look at the picture-in-picture here, because Pedrosa is going for an overtake on Bully, pulls alongside into the inner loop, but then gets bumped and just crashes out hard. And that means that both me and Kong will make our way through and gain a position that way. So not by any work of our own, but a position gain, so me up to P14 now as we head towards shoot. The other car involved in this Bully also falls behind Bender because of the contact. So Bender pulls ahead to P11 and Bully is now the car in front of Kong, and still a bit slow, maybe rattled or perhaps some damage from the contact there. I think rather the former, because they do get fully back up to speed, I believe. But regardless, they are under pressure from Kong now, who's just about 1 second behind. 1 second behind them. Or even just half a second, excuse me. And so we head through the final sector with Kong really being on the gearbox of Bully there. As we head towards the penultimate corner, the tiny gap is maintained in front, and especially in the last corner, I believe Bully makes perhaps a little mistake. So Kong is very, very close now and looking to make a similar move as they did on me. Let's go back to the picture-in-picture. So we see Kong making a move to the inside, slightly hesitating, but then making the move back. In the end, they're too far back and Bully shuts the door, same as me two laps ago. So for the time being at least, Kong is back behind and I'm trailing both of them. I've fallen further behind than before, so now the gap between Bully and Kong is about 1 second and I'm about 2.5 seconds behind Kong. So not great for me. If there's gonna be a battle there, I really want to be closer. Now good for me, the good thing for me is that in the inner loop I feel like I may be punching a bit above my weight. I feel that I have quite a bit of bravado through that section. So for where I'm seated, I feel like that's where I typically catch up a bit, as well as in this corner shoot. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it just suits me somehow. Now, as this is happening, a battle unfolds in front of me. So Bully has a slide in toe corner and Kong pulls alongside as they head towards heel corner. I left my view in the picture-in-picture, but not much is happening there, so let's focus on the battle here. So Kong has the inside line, and I think coming out of heel corner should be more decisive and cut across Bully. Doesn't quite do so, gets bumped from behind, and Bully then fully commits to the inside line and pulls back ahead as they head towards turn 10 and 11 and the end of the lap. So very momentary overtake by Kong, but it immediately gets repassed by Bully. And we go around for another round. So Kong once more very close behind on the main straight. Presumably looking to make an overtake into turn 1, seems to be their favorite spot. Again they pull out to the inside, then tuck back in behind Bully and then pull out once again to the inside. And then they go for the dive and Kong gets pushed a little wide. Now if you look at it in the replay, so maybe slight hesitation and back to the inside, a dive, and then Kong runs all the way to the white line, and I'm not sure if this is quite on. I feel like they should probably leave a little more room to Bully there. It's hard to judge though, because the entire red and white curb counts as part of the track, so I suppose it is one car width left, but still feels very much on the limit to me. Regardless, I see that Bully is, or I'm all over the back of Bully here. And heading into inner loop, I feel like I might catch up more than I would like to, given that I feel like it is a strong section for me. So I back off a little bit. And if we look at the replay, just the back view for Bully. So first we see once more the move by Kong. Then Bully gets pushed wide, gets pushed fully off the track. This slows them down quite a bit, and I'm catching up very, very heavily. So now under a lot of pressure from me behind as we go through turns 3 and next 4. And so now we find ourselves on the back straight, and I'm super close behind. I can basically smell what they had for breakfast. So I back off just a little bit because I don't want to run into the back of them if I'm faster through this section. And I think it may have confused them a bit or distracted them, leading to them going off track and just giving me a pretty easy pass all in all. The only thing I was worried about is that this rejoin is pretty tricky here. It's quite a common place to go off track, and it's so very tricky rejoin, so I was worried they'd run into the side of me, but not quite. I get the move done and another position gain, so now I'm in P13, the same position I ended up in the previous race, and we're almost halfway through this one, because these races are 18 minutes long, and of course there's always the lap to be completed right at the end, so it's always a bit longer than exactly 18 minutes. Now, in front of me, we're cutting ahead a lap and a half, and in front of me, a three-way battle is unfolding. There's Saprikin in the front, then Bender in the yellow car, and Kong in the white Ferrari. There's again my view in the picture top right, but not that much happening there, so focusing on the battle. Saprikin is under heavy pressure from Bender, but Bender comes a bit too close into the last corner of the track and gets bogged down behind Saprikin, and Kong managed to profit off of it and cuts to the inside and is now alongside Bender and looking to put a move on Saprikin. Now once more Kong runs even over the white line. I don't know if this is quite on once again, but in any case Bender follows him through as Kong overtakes Saprikin, Bender with him, and that puts Saprikin now in my line of sight. So I'm still P12, but order has shuffled for P9, 10 and 11, and since 11 is my target, now Saprikin is my target. Time for me to try and assess where I might have an opportunity to go for an overtake. Probably won't be easy, it's just the nature of the track, but we'll have to see what happens. So in shoot, as I noted previously, I feel that it's a pretty strong corner for me, and then the inner loop as well. So I'm looking here at Saprikin and thinking, yep, this might be a good place for me to try and go for an overtake. Or at least make sure I stick close enough behind that I'm putting a lot of pressure and hopefully pushing them to make an error. Coming into heel corner, I see that they run quite wide there. Another possible opportunity for me, even though I come out of it with a bit of a slide, I'm still catching up to Saprikin. So I'm all over the gearbox of them now, just 3 or 4 tenths behind, in any case within striking distance. Perhaps the first good opportunity I'll get is turn 1, so looking to get a good exit here onto the main straight. I think I go on the throttle a bit too early, which means I have to back out of it for a moment. And then when I push back down, I have fallen behind a bit. Now, still in turn 1, I catch up super heavily. And we pass Kong and Bulash there, who crashed out. I guess there was a similar move as before, with Kong trying to go for an overtake, but another 2 positions gained for me, so P11 now. And still, as I was saying, Saprikin surprised me a bit with how much they braked into turn 1, and I was scared to run into them for a moment. Same thing here in inner loop, confirming to me that this is a strong section to me compared to people of my caliber. I do run a little bit too wide in this corner, the outer loop, but then as we head towards shoot, once again I close in very heavily. And there's a thing where if you're entering a braking zone and you catch up more than you expect, it's pretty unnerving because you're worried that you'll run into the back of him. And the tendency, at least I have, and I think quite a lot of people, is that you tend to overbrake a little bit. So you close up, overbrake a little bit, and the gap reforms basically. So it's something to try and conquer, where you try to estimate the braking just right so that you close up, and then you stick close behind so that you're putting the pressure that you want to be putting. Not an easy thing to do though. And yeah, there's then the risk to overshoot and run into the back of them. So yeah, something to work on for me at least. Yeah, around again we go. So we're going through the last corner. I'll be looking to get a good exit, trying to get right behind Sabrekin as we head towards turn 1. If I'm really close enough, I can go for a move on the inside if they're not defending it, or on the outside if they're defending the inside. In this case, I'm not close enough, but once again, I am caught off guard by how early the brake. I probably should have been on edge about it beforehand, because they showed me this tendency already the previous lap, but of course one instance is not a pattern, so it was a bit much to assume, and if I drive overly cautiously, I'm just gonna give them a gap that for no reason, so don't want that either. Okay, so now we're heading to inner loop. I have fallen back quite a bit, but here the tendency for inner loop is also confirmed. I close up that gap again, so I'm back within about half a second, and we're heading towards shoot, where I'm hoping the same thing will happen once more, and this time I come prepared, so I close that gap and I don't over brake to overcompensate, so I stick right behind, just 0.3 of a second. Same thing here in tow, and I think I am now unnerving them by being so close behind and not falling back again. So they drift a little wide, and that's all I need. I make the move on the inside, win the drag race uphill, and that's it. Now they are looking to make a move on my inside in heel corner, so I make sure to really stick quite towards the middle of the track so that they don't have a good line on the inside, and they follow me all the way down the straight there, instead of moving to the outside, which I think would have been a smart thing to do. But anyway, let's look back here. So closing up and sticking right behind, not giving an inch anymore this time. And then same thing as we head towards tow, I come so close and I stay there, and I think I'm distracting them with this move, so I just managed to get the overtake. As we head down this mini straight, they are clearly positioning for a move on the inside, so I move a lot to the inside myself, leaving more than a car's width on the outside, and they don't capitalize on it. I think if they move back to the outside and try to go for an over-under move, or like a switchback, I think they might have a better chance at success. But as it stands, the position is gained for me and I maintain it. So I'm now P10. I'm pretty happy to get a top 10 here. I wasn't quite expecting it, though I was hoping it for it being seeded 11th. But then, yeah, with the start of the race and being spun out, at that point I fully did not expect to come back that far. So quite happy with it all, even though it took a lot of help with a bunch of people crashing out on the first lap as well. Now coming out of turn 1, I tried to immediately set the gap towards Saprikin. I already had about 1 second. I have a big slide though, but then because they brake so early there, I think the gap is maintained despite my slide, so still about 1 second. And then I'll be looking to open up the gap even more as we go through inner loop. So attacking the curbs very aggressively here, trying to keep up my speed. And then through outer loop, not expecting to open up here the gap. But as we get back up to speed, I do notice I opened it up a bit after inner loop. So as we go down shoot, yeah, the timer fluctuates with distance instead of time. But coming out of shoot, we can see that I'm up about 1.5 seconds, so it's looking good for me. And that's the last thing really of note that happens in the race. So skipping forward to the last lap in the last corner, and I bring it home in P10. Even though once again it's showing as P9, it's just because some people had already left the session. So P10, and I'm very happy with this one, much more so than with the first one. So yeah, as I said though, it was a series of 3 races that I did back to back. I believe I said that, at least maybe not, but 3 back to back. So expect the next video once again to be Watkins Glen, coming up probably tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and catch you on the next one.